Hi there, my name is Chris Yetman, and I'm the finance manager at Christ the King Parish. I want to tell you a time in my life when I lost hope, almost gave up, and when God was there for me. 6 years ago, my wife and I walked the last 225 kilometers of the Camino, which is a pilgrimage in northern Spain. And on day two, I ran into a brick wall, not literally, figuratively. We were only a few hours on the road. I was in severe agony and suffering terrible unexplained pain on the tops of my feet. That was so debilitating, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue. Every step I took felt like someone was putting hot knives or coals onto the tops of my feet. I had trained very hard for so very long in preparation, and I was losing hope in a big way that this was going to be the end of my Camino journey. And to be honest, I felt like I was letting God down. We had another 32 kilometers in front of us that day, and I was so sure that this was the end that I actually started looking around for a place for a helicopter to land to come and pick us up, because we were 450 meters up in the hills on a very narrow path, and there was no way that any vehicle was coming to get us. At this time, I started crying for the pain I was feeling, but also crying for the disappointment I was feeling, that again, I was going to let God down. And I asked God for his intervention to take away my burden so I could continue on this pilgrimage, which was a pilgrimage of faith for me. I wanted to grow closer to God. We came around a corner, and tethered to a post was a donkey, which of course is a beast of burden. I didn't get it then. It took me a few months to figure things out, but I realize now that was God sending me a sign that things were going to be okay. And a little while later, we came around another corner, and standing there in the middle of nowhere was this young girl who looked at us and said, "Do you mind if I walk with you?" And of course, that's what you do in the community, you walk with people. And we started talking, and she was from Paris. She was 19, spoke impeccable English, same age as our oldest son, was taking the exact same program in university as he was, and one of the most engaging young people I've ever met. She asked all about us, why we were walking the Camino, etc. And I looked down and I noticed she was wearing a pair of red Crocs. Now, if any of you have done any hiking, you know that you don't hike in a pair of Crocs. I asked her why, and she said she had walked for 600 kilometers, and her blisters were so bad that she could only wear Crocs, and she was in agony for every hour when she started walking, and after an hour, her feet went numb. We were starting down 450-meter descent, and for any of you who hike, you know that the descent is far worse than the ascent. And so I was very afraid because it was a dangerous path, and I was also still in great agony. We reached the bottom of the hill, thankfully. She kept my mind off myself, off my feet. She went on her way. We stopped for a bite to eat. And when we came out, my wife said, "You know, it's okay, Chris. You don't have to be a hero here. God is not going to be disappointed in you or admonish you for not finishing the day. Let's grab a taxi to where we need to be." And I looked at her and I said, "Susan, it's okay." She said, "No, Chris, you're suffering tremendously. I've never seen you like that in my life." And she said, "I don't want you to hurt yourself." I said, "My feet don't hurt." And she said, "That's not possible. That's not possible. You could barely move up there." I said, "I know. I don't believe it either, Susan, but I'm okay." We walked the rest of the 32 kilometers and finished the day. It was a long day. It was a hot day. It was a tough day, but we finished. I realize now, looking back, that that girl from France, she was an angel that God had sent to take away my burden, to take away my pain. Several other times in the Camino, I was confronted with physical challenges that I could not have overcome without God's help. When I had lost hope and was ready to give up, he came alongside and lifted me onto his shoulders, and he carried me along the way. 7 months later, I lost my job after being downsized, and friends asked how I was coping. I simply smiled and said that it was all okay, because I had someone much bigger than me looking out for me who was going to carry me on to the next chapter of my life. They asked me who it was. I said, "Easy. It was Jesus. It's God. And they didn't really get it because they didn't have a lot of faith. And they said, how can you put so much faith in somebody you can't see? And I said, oh, but I have seen. Many, many times I've seen the work that he does, and I've experienced his unconditional love and grace and mercy. And I told him when I lost hope 7 months ago, he was there for me. I realize now that all of this was part of his bigger plan, because after being out of work, I ended up coming to work for the church, where I believe he wanted me to be all along. Psalm 6 verse 2 says this, have compassion on me, Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. When I was in the wilderness, I was weak and in terrible agony, and I'd lost hope and was ready to give up. I called out to him, and he definitely healed me, and he's been healing me ever since. Regardless why, if you've lost hope during COVID-19 or for any other reason, always know that God is listening, and you just have to ask for his help. It may not come right away or in the form that you would expect, but he does answer your prayers. He answered mine, and he's been answering them all along. I just didn't realize it until I was on the Camino. Thanks very much. God bless.